Well, the problem that many towns suffer is that in trying to accommodate traffic, they have allowed streets to become so heavily dominated by vehicles that those streets have lost their primary purpose, which is as places that attract people, that attract investment, that attract spending. Streets have always had to serve multiple functions. They're part of the transport infrastructure, but they're also places for social and economic interaction, which at the end of the day support the economy of a town. If we allow too much regulation and the aspects of the highway to dominate the environment, it's harder for people to cross the road, speeds go up, and drivers are less responsive to the surroundings. And less responsive drivers tend to be more dangerous, and it tends to be less comfortable for vulnerable users that go to make up a successful street. Douglas is one of many seaside towns that is having to rethink the nature of its seafront and of its economy, and has a magnificent promenade from the end of the 19th century. But like many promenades, it's very easy for them to become dominated by traffic, to lose the essential quality, and for them to become congested and unsafe and unsatisfactory places. There isn't an impossible mismatch between high traffic volumes and great streets. But it does mean a different way of thinking about streets, that they're not merely the preserve of the highways. They're also part of the economy and the intrinsic life of a town. So trying to find a balance between the exchange and the movement functions of the street is really what this is all about. If, as we did in the past, you try and drive a standard highway through the middle of the town, it's rarely successful. You continue to have congestion, to have accidents, and your town's economy rarely thrives. What you also find with over-regulated streets is that they generate a stop-start pattern of flow. This is less efficient than low-speed traffic moving smoothly. One of the advantages we found in Poynton in particular was reducing the approach to a busy junction from 3 lanes down to 1. Is more efficient than a multi-lane approach with all the delays that come with signal controls. You can make major space gains which you can use for cycling, parking, or wider footways. And of course there are major savings in costs because signals cost an awful lot of money to install and maintain.
It's just instantly changed. It's just quite remarkable. It's just astounding the difference it's made by just changing and covering the lights.
It's not a change which is as radical as people often assume. It's the change from seeing a street as part of the highway to it being a social space, part of the town. Drivers begin to take their cues from their surroundings and not from trying to beat the red light. Drivers are part of the place they're in, somewhere that is distinctive, is different from the highway. One of the pleasing outcomes is that the courtesy which emerges from low-speed design spreads out into other aspects of street life. You have a change in relationship between the pedestrians, cyclists, and you get a much more balanced traffic movement alongside the economic and social interactions. Rather than the street being a linear corridor, it becomes a sequence of rooms, if you like, buildings and the activities that they generate all become an important part of the design. So in streets where drivers are less distracted by signs or traffic signals, they become responsive to unexpected incidents. You make sure the street doesn't become a barrier to free-flowing pedestrian movement. You're not having to spend a lot of money on complex systems and maintaining road markings and so forth. Better value for local authorities to put money into the whole of the public realm rather than merely the highway itself. As we move from a more segregated approach to streetscape towards integrating streets with their surroundings, practical gains in terms of journey time, congestion, safety and so forth are very important. But ultimately what you're doing is introducing a quality which is rarely spoken about in highway design, and that's civility. And it's civility which ultimately benefits the economy.
I find all the traffic, vans, cars, motorcycles, very, very courteous, and they all seem to stop the minute they see me.
economic returns to a town from civilised low-speed streetscapes far exceed conventional highway measures. Much more attractive streets mean a more successful economy. The value of businesses and properties around the centre of Poynton in the time that the scheme was completed have more than doubled. It's a huge value, hundreds of millions of pounds, way in excess of the £3 to £4 million that the scheme cost.